Okay, welcome to the channel. If Delta cancelled your flight, this is your emergency message. The service desk will not help you. They didn't help us. The service desk wants you to get a below and to off, and that's all they want. The phone banks that are at the side for Delta, that were there JFK when we got cancelled, you can call them up. The only thing they will realistically tell you is that you need to find a supervisor. Now, they described the supervisor to you. You couldn't find, you thought it was a service desk. I called up after again. I said, I want this. I couldn't find the supervisor. Service desk wouldn't help me. They said, why are you talking to the service desk? The supervisor is a guy in civilian clothes with a high-vis jacket. Here's a picture, and he can get you your transfer to your hotel, and he can get you your hotel room. And he's the only one that can do it. Do not waste your time with any of the rest, because you won't get anywhere. And if you don't think that I'm speaking the truth to you, don't worry, I have an alternative. Here it is. This is what Delta is going to give you to spend the night. You have fun with that. And we're now starting the video properly for everyone else. So now, welcome to the channel. We're now into the video proper. And unfortunately, we flew Delta.
It was meant to be Virgin Atlantic, but it got code shared, so I didn't realise this.
We passed up Norse Airline.
I know.
Norse Airline. Because we thought, oh, well, we get slightly better service out of Virgin, and it turned out to be
not true.
Delta. Yeah, and of course that meant that basically we lost all the protections that we would have otherwise had expected. Now, it was very obvious when we arrived at the airport that that plane wasn't going to fly. And it wasn't going to fly because there weren't any people there. No. And they had clearly started a wear down repeat very early on, what I consider a wear down repeat. Let's not get sued here. But what they did is they changed the gate, then they changed it back again, and then they changed it one more time. Supposedly they changed it 3 times. I was only there for 2 changes, but there was another gentleman who said they've changed us already. Then they delayed the flight, and then finally they cancelled the flight. And as soon as they cancelled the flight, everybody got up and rushed to the service desk. And the service desk, as first positive act of the day, they wheeled out the smallest water bottles you've ever seen. Amazing. And mints.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, were pillows and blankets. And you knew exactly where it was going to go. So anyway, you were very quick of the mark. You went to the phone banks.
Yeah. There was this phone bank on opposite, and it says straight direct line to the customer service. So I got on the phone bank, and even there I had to wait on hold for quite a while. And the phone banks, they told me I was being recorded, but they actually said, well, you know, you're booked on to the next flight, but find yourself a supervisor, they'll sort you out, don't worry, we've got you covered.
And at that stage I stood in the queue for the service desk for about an hour and a half. And at that stage, I'd already buggered off and I got a bit of sleep, and the kids have gone to sleep, and we basically took turns standing in the queue. Yeah. There's some people in there, they stood there the whole time. It's incredible how they did that.
Yeah.
And we got to the front of the queue, and we had a lady, and it was very clear that she wasn't there to help us. You basically got the whole routine. You got the routine that, well, she would like to help us, but as we didn't fly there with Delta, we just showed up as people, and therefore we weren't entitled to anything. Then she said, well, you know, we have so many people here that are connecting flights, and they need to look after them. And realistically, we ought to be prepared for this level of emergency if we're coming to fly. And it was incredible. She accused me of shouting at her, which really upset me. And I was actually very carefully not to shout at her. We were there for 20 minutes. She complained that she needed to help everybody else, and it was obvious. I mean, I even said to her, why help them? You haven't helped us. As an alternative, after we'd been there for 20 minutes arguing with her, she said that we could go to a hotel and
claim it back. Keep your receipts, claim it back.
Couple of points later on what that would mean.
Yeah, so you'd think that you'd get your hotel fees back once you present your receipts, but if you have a good look at the T's and C's, which I did after I came back, it turns out that they will reimburse you at their discretion up to $100 in
Delta vouchers. You couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. And that's an insult, isn't it? That really is just an insult.
You've already had a bad experience with them, and you've got to get your money back by booking with them. That's
so at this stage, we're about 3 hours into all this.
Yeah. It's a long time.
And what happened then? I think at that stage, I went back to the phone bank. There's a second set of phone banks. So what happens, opposite the service desk, there was a set of phone banks. There were about 10 of them. They were all busy. I picked up a couple of phones were empty, but they were broken. And I ran off all the way to the other end. There was another set of phone banks. There was nobody there. And I took all the phones off the hook, and I walked away again. And I went back to my phone bank, and at that stage, one of the phones had a voice on it. And I said, yes, hi, hello. I talked to your service
Service
to the service at the service desk to the staff, and they basically don't want to give me anything. But I'm here in a foreign land with my wife and children, and I'm really getting screwed by these people. What can you do? And they actually said, why on earth are you talking to the service desk? You shouldn't be talking to the service desk. You should be talking to a supervisor.
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it?
And they specifically said, go and find the supervisor. He will have a red high-vis vest. And that's the information they didn't give you.
No. I'd found one. I'd asked one of the gate staff from a different gate, oh, can you point me out to a supervisor? In fact, I actually thought they were a supervisor, but they said, no, that's the supervisor over there. Pointed one out, which was fantastic.
I'll also hasten to add that we had asked for a supervisor from the lady at the service desk, and by God, she made us wait for half an hour waiting for the supervisor, and he was never going to show up there. No. Because the very first thing that happened when you found the supervisor is that he took you away, and it was a beautiful moment because they just cancelled a flight full of Germans who were also flying with data back to, where was it?
They were going to Berlin.
To Berlin. Yeah. And they said over the tunnel, the PA system, they said, oh, I'm sorry, but unfortunately all our
hotels are
full and there can't be any transfer.
Hotel.
Find your own. And then we talked to the supervisor, and all of a sudden, all the problems disappeared. He signed over a transfer for the two of us. We got a food voucher for the hotel. We got a hotel.
We got a lift that's like an Uber.
Yeah, no
there
problem.
And back.
And no argument at all.
Argument.
It just happened immediately.
Yeah.
And it was so surprising because you look at the guy and it's actually very well contrived because you think it's a service desk because the service desk looks like professional people in jackets and uniforms and everything. Yeah. And this guy wore civilian clothing with a Delta jacket.
High-vis jacket.
And the whole airport is full of people like that because that's what the ground crew wear. Yeah. That's what...
That's probably what the baggage handlers wear.
There's some sort of halfway security stuff. They run around in that. They all wear the same bloody red high-vis jacket. Yeah. And so you really need to find that one guy. When we finally got our stuff and we got to the hotel, there were people there from American Airlines, was it?
Pretty sure because some of the staff there asked, were we from American? Were we denied boarding? And we said...
There was no one else from Delta.
No.
I think out of all those people there, and they cancelled 3 or 4 flights.
Yeah, minimum.
I think we're the only people that got that.
Yeah.
It's insane. And that brings us basically to the motive.
I mean, it does feel like it's all about the money.
Yeah.
Just the way they're pushing pillows and sleeping on the floor of the airport on people.
But it was immediate. Here are the pillows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the
it's like the door opens, here are the pillows. And the next day when we came back, they already had a pallet of pillows ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all the pictures you see.
And they were cancelling flights.
All the pictures you see here are for the next day. And when we did finally fly, the plane still wasn't full.
No.
I still got a full row of 3 seats to kip in.
Yeah.
Nice. Which was nice. But, the flight itself and the service staff on the flight were fine. Yeah. I also think that the people that were at the gate desk, they were also fine. They weren't against you. No. But the service staff, it was bloody obvious. The only thing they wanted was to get rid of you in such a way that Delta wouldn't have any expense. Here in the UK / the EU, the UK took all the European laws over in that respect. If they cancel your flight like that, in a situation where it's the airline fraud, you get $500-600 compensation, you get a hotel room, and you get a transfer, and you get meal vouchers. And we have gotten this. This has happened to us several times. We've always gotten it. And there's no argument. Yeah. There's no debate. Everybody gets it. The whole flight gets it.
Quick. There's no talking about it.
They say, okay, hi, everybody, come here, all you little ducklings, and we go to the bus, and we go to the hotel. And it's immediate. And it's very interesting because right now in the States, the Department of
Transport
under Pete Buttigieg is trying to clearly bring in a law that they have some duty of care.
He's been saying, you're entitled to all of these. So you're entitled to the accommodation, you're entitled to the transfer, you're entitled to the meal if the airline cancels on you. And in fact, there's been a whole problem with Delta. They actually have Delta under investigation for poor customer service.
Our expectation that Delta will live up to their passenger service commitments, including specific commitments that we secured from Delta in 2022 and are prepared to enforce. That's things like rebooking passengers at no additional cost on Delta or on other airlines in order to get them where they're going. And when there is a lengthy delay, to come through and provide hotels, accommodations, meals, ground transportation.
My point is, if you're flying in the States, this was all about Delta because Delta was the carrier we had. Other carriers might be different. They might be the same. We don't know. All we know is Delta really was bad. And if you want to know what you look like, and remember, we got a hotel room. So this is how we looked the next day. And this is the thing that I begrudge, out of all of this, I begrudge the most. I could have had a good night's sleep.
Yeah, you're sort of wondering, why did it have to take so long? I mean, the outcome is the same, isn't it? At the end of the day, the flight is cancelled, you're not going anywhere, and all you want is to be accommodated and looked after. And instead, you go to a service desk, which basically seems to just be there to deny you service, which is really weird because two parts of the same company. One says, oh, we'll help you, don't worry, we've got you sorted. That's the phone bank. Just find a supervisor. And the other side, which is all about, well, we don't care, you sort yourself out.
I'm not flying Delta unless I can absolutely avoid it.
Yeah.
So I hope this was interesting. We'll go back to a normal video next week, but this one's important for some people, no doubt. So, bye-bye from us. Bye-bye.